VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. All right, stop. Collaborate.
Let's stop and discuss the ICECI. So what is the ICECI? It's the International Classification of External Causes of Injury. Well, it's a classification for providing codes for external injuries in this format. It was started in 1999 and it's part of the WHO Family of International Classifications, or WHO FIC. It was put together and formulated by experts in the field of trauma and injury in the United States of America, Australia, Scandinavia countries, and Western Europe. Well, it's practically a repository of all the possible accidents that can happen and that can be had. So what does ICECI answer? Well, it answers several questions. First, it describes circumstances surrounding the injury. Next, it provides more information on specific injury categories. It's a tool that brings medical aid providers and patients from all over the world on a common platform. It also provides statistics to help medical aid providers in prioritizing injuries, formulating means of prevention, and deciding on the treatment strategy. It's also a classification for injury surveillance and improves precision of coding injury events. So how is this classification structured? First, it's both conceptual and structural. For the conceptual part, it's based on an explicit model of injury occurrence, where injurious events are described in terms of underlying and direct mechanisms of injury mediated by objects and substances and occurring in a context that can be characterized in terms of place, activity, and other conceptual dimensions. While the structural, on the other hand, is divided into three. It's multi-axial, it's hierarchical, and modular. Multi-axial meaning allows numerous factors to be recorded independent of one another. Hierarchical is subclassification comprising the ICECI can be used at 2 or 3 levels of detail. In modular, there are several groups of ICECI items form modules on topics such as transport, sport, violence, and this structure provides flexibility as users can opt to employ all or some parts of the system depending on the purposes and resources. Well, it's been made to be very, very user-friendly. Just pick down the list and check. It's easily navigated to reach the required information very, very quickly and easy to scan data as per the requirements and circumstances. And it's used for medical resources that have inadequate facilities and information regarding prevention of injuries. So, what are the differences between the ICD-10 and the ICECI? The ICD deals with injuries without giving much importance and focus on the external factors that actually cause them, while the ICECI, on the other hand, has greater specificity about the injury and deals purely with factors that are related to the cause of it. There are 7 core modules here. The first module is intent. The second core module is mechanism of injury. 3, the object and substance that caused the injury. Number 4, the place of injury. Number 5, the activity during the time the injury was sustained. Number 6, core module, alcohol use. Number 7, drug use or prohibited substance. And these provide the unique identifiers for the elements of the ICECI. However, it also has 5 additional modules that are supplementary to the core modules. So let's go through the core modules and so that we can go to it in detail. So the first core module is intent. So subclassifications are neat is unintentional, intentional self-harm such as suicide, assault, other violence, undetermined intent, complications of medical or surgical care, other specified intent, unspecified intent. So for core module number 2, or the mechanism of injury, so we can have blunt force, piercing, penetrating force, complications of healthcare, other mechanical force, thermal injury, threat to breathing, exposure to chemicals or other substances, physical overexertion, exposure to weather, and so on, other specified mechanisms of injury, unspecified mechanism of injury. It's that specific and that detailed. And we'll also go into details so you'll appreciate it much more later. So for core module number 3, or object or substance, it's so detailed. To give you an example, It includes the type of car or vehicle that caused the injury, sports equipment that can cause injury, tools that can cause injury, pharmaceuticals or medication that can cause injury, plants that can cause injury, animals that can cause injury, even weapons that can cause injury. Parts or structures of the building, such as the doors, such as the windows, may cause injury. Timber or lumber that causes injury. Sports injuries sustained during competition is included. Ground or surface structures like manholes is also included. Flames, boiling water, and even childhood furniture such as cribs and alcohol. And this is the list if you want to go through it. It's very, very specific. But again, to show you how specific it is, let's take, for example, land vehicle, which is subclassification 3.1. How specific it is, it can go as personal powered means of transport, such as bicycles, animal powered means of transport, or a horse driven carriage, like motorized 2 or 3-wheel vehicles like tricycles, light transfer vehicles, heavy transfer vehicles, rail vehicles, and parts and components of land vehicles or means of land transport, and other specified land vehicles or means of land transport. But again, it doesn't end there. For example, we go to a subclassification of the subclassification of rail transport. So it goes, a subclassification is like streetcar, tram, electric car, car or trolley, a train, and even a funicular, monorail, and other similar vehicles. It's that detailed, it's included. So we go to core module number 4, or the place of occurrence of where the injury happened. So it can happen in the home, recreational area, and so on and so forth, which we will discuss later in our examples. So activity is also core number 5, module number 5, and has these subclassifications which we'll discuss. Alcohol use. So it's in subclassification first. There's no information available on whether the injured person had alcohol use. Of course, subclassification 6.2 includes no suspicion or evidence of alcohol use by any person involved in the injury event. Subclassification 6.3 is suspicion or evidence of alcohol use by the injured person. When we classify an alcoholic breath in a patient, this is classified as subclassification 6.3. Again, suspicion or evidence of alcohol use by the other person involved in the injury is 6.4. And if both are suspected of having alcohol use, it's 6.5. And for core module number 7, drug or substance, it's exactly the same as alcohol. Similar structure. Okay, now we go to the examples. For our first example, well, if you watch Game of Thrones for the violence in the storyline, not just because of Khaleesi, then I'm sure you know this scene in one of the seasons wherein Ned Stark was beheaded as ordered by Joffrey Lannister. So the intent, we go to core module number 1, or the intent. But clearly the Lannister family has a feud with the Stark family. So we go, the intent is most likely operations of war or civil conflict. So we go to diary 1.4.2. That's how we code it. For the mechanism of injury, so Ned Stark sustained a penetrating force and severed head or hack off the head. So coded as 2.2.1.5. So we go to the object, or core module number 3, object or substance producing the injury. first a weapon was used, and it was a sword. So the code was 3.12.1.15 for the place of occurrence. So the place was other specified place of occurrence, but it obviously happened at Winterfell, the kingdom of Jeff the Lannisters, and it specifically occurred in the town plaza of Winterfell. So we code it as 4.98. So the activity when he was injured, well, we cannot say other specified activity, but clearly Ned Stark was charged with rebellion, hence his beheading. So we code it as 5.98. So alcohol use, again we have no information of any alcohol use. However, Tyrion, the midget Lannister of the Lannister family, was always seen holding goblets and goblets of wine. So again, there is suspicion or evidence of alcohol use by the other person involved in the injury event. So that's 6.4 coded that way. And core module number 7, psychoactive drug or substance use. Again, we have no information of such. So that's for example number 1. So for example number 2, this example is for you.
She told me not to worry.
Well, that was one of the more memorable scenes in the show Grey's Anatomy, where Dr. Derek Shepherd was involved in a car crash, and Derek Shepherd is known as McDreamy or Patrick Dempsey. But again, who in his right mind would pick up his cell phone in the middle of the street in a blind corner? But I think instead of McDreamy, he should be called McStupid. But anyway, if there was the anti-distraction driving law, I guess this wouldn't have happened. Well, so we go to the intent. The intent of injury is obviously unintentional, so we code it as 1.1. The mechanism of injury was a blunt force or a vehicle versus or the truck in this case, with an SUV of Dr. Shepherd, or coded as 2.1. The object of substance producing the injury, 1, was the land vehicle or the truck. So let's go 3.1. The place of occurrence happened in the countryside. The situation was Dr. Shepherd was driving to the airport so that he can go to Washington, fly to Washington for a business meeting. So we go as 4.2. So the activity when injured. So he was driving, and it was actually paid work because he was traveling in the course of paid work. He was going to the airport for work. So that's coded as 5.12. So alcohol use, no, we have no suspicion or evidence of alcohol use by any person without the injury. That's 6.2. And psychoactive drug use, again, we also have no suspicion or evidence of such. So that's for example number 2. So going to example number 3.
Your father is on the way! Hold on! There, on that tree!
Hold on, Simba!
Oh, Scar, this is awful! What do we do? What do we do? I'll go back for help. That's what I'll do. I'll go back for help.
Scar! Brother, help me!
Long live the king.
Well, another famous scene in the movie Lion King, wherein we see the brothers Mufasa and Scar fight it out because Scar wanted the throne for himself, so he murdered Mufasa. So the intent was definitely assault. He wanted to kill his brother to get the throne. So that's code 1.3. So the mechanism of injury, of course, Scar uses claws, which is a penetrating force, and scratch or clawed by an animal. So the code would be 2.1, 2.2.1.2. The object or substance producing injury, so it's quite specific. Number one, it's an animal. And what type of animal? It's a land mammal. And what type of land mammal? It's a lion. It's that detailed and that specific. So that will be coded as 3.13.4.55. Yeah, so the place of occurrence, of course, it seemed like the countryside within a marsh or a valley. So that's coded as 4.12.4. For the activity when injured, well, Mufasa was trying to save his own life, so I believe it was a vital activity. So that's coded as 5.6. So any psychoactive drug, or alcohol use, no alcohol was used, or even psychoactive drug, there's no suspicion of such. That's we coded as 6.2. So next example.
How dare you defy your masters!
Dobby has no master. Dobby is a free elf, and Dobby has come to save Harry Potter and his friends. Hermione, you're all right. We're safe. We're all safe.
Harry Potter.
Dobby. Dobby, hold on. Hold on. Okay. Just hold on, okay? We'll fix you. Hermione, have something in your bag. Hermione? Hermione? Help me!
Such a beautiful place to be with friends. Dobby is happy to be with his friend, Harry Potter.
I never cried so hard in a movie before until I saw this scene where house elf Dobby was murdered by Bellatrix. So the intent was definitely assault by Bellatrix. Put it as 1.3. And the mechanism of injury first was piercing, penetrating force, and specifically puncturing, stabbing force. So that's coded as 2.1, 2.2.2. And the object of substance-producing injury, of course, was a weapon by Bellatrix. It's a sharp object. It's a dagger. So that's coded as 3.12.1.15. It's a place of occurrence. So first, murder occurred, injury occurred in the countryside, particularly in the beach area, the shore, close to Shell College where they house. So we code it as 4.12.5. So alcohol use, we have no information available of such, but it's coded 6.1. Psychoactive drug, we have no information available as well. So it's coded as 7.1. And our final example.
Rogue One, may the Force be with you.
Your father would have been proud of you, Jin.
The rebel flagship is disabled, my lord, but has received transmissions from the surface.
Prepare a boarding party.
Yes, my lord.
Well, another memorable scene. Well, this is the scene where Jin Erso died together with all the protagonists of the rebellion, where they had a suicide mission going to Edu Island, a planet, to get the blueprints of the Death Star to destroy. So what was the intent? Well, of course, it was, again, the dark side versus rebellion, so it's operations of war or civil conflict. So we code it as 1.4.2. The mechanism of injury of Jin was first thermal mechanism from the explosion, heating, and subclassification of heating the whole body, which comes from the laser of the Death Star. So we coded as 2.4.1.5. Object or substance producing the injury, we go down the line to the other specified object or substance, and then the subclassification, and the final classification is a laser light or equipment from the Death Star. So we code it as 3.98.98.05. So the place of occurrence was the countryside and in the beach of Edu planet. And activity when the injury occurred, well, it was definitely unpaid work because the rebellion doesn't pay much, or I guess the rebellion doesn't pay more. So Jin traveled to the planet in the course of unpaid work. So it's coded as 1.2.2. Alcohol use, we have no information available whether alcohol is used or not. So 6.1. And lastly, psychoactive drug or substance use, we have no information available regarding such. But the force is so powerful that you can act like a psychoactive drug. But then again, we have no information of such. Well, that's the end of my presentation. Hope you like it. Thank you.